Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chuck. Welcome to the first episode of Exploration with Chuck and Yin, a podcast where two buddies chat about current events, the world, and life. I'm Chuck Alcock, along with my co-host, Ayende Roshan, and we're excited that you're tuned in to our first episode. We aren't sure exactly what we want this show to evolve into, but we figured a safe way to start was with some background information about each of us, sort of our biographies, so our future Wikipedia editors can properly fill in our biographies and information appropriately. To open us up, I'm going to turn it over to Yin to talk a little bit about his life and why we're doing this. Fire away, Yin.
All right, what's happening, everybody? My name is Ayende, also known as Yin. I'm a doctoral student at University of Illinois, and I'm also a photographer and videographer, writer. And me and Chuck, we just been best friends since we met in 8th grade. You know, we was roommates in undergrad at IU, and we just still been friends and brothers ever since, and always been talking about, the world, history, and everything like that. So we've always talked about possibly having a podcast, and it's just time to really get this ball rolling. So I'm blessed and honest to be doing this with my best friend and my brother, for real.
I second that, absolutely. The cool thing is we've literally been having conversations like these since I think 2010 is probably when we were in 8th grade. So over a decade now. And we figured it was high time to put these conversations on air. I actually vividly remember that first day when you came to good old Evansville Day School in Evansville, Indiana, for your visit in 7th grade. You were moving from out of town.
Buffalo, New York. Shout out to 716, no cap.
We played a little bit of basketball that day.
Hooped you, yeah.
I was better then. Ayende grew on me. He got taller and maybe a little quicker and could jump higher. So that changed in our 20s. But back 7th, 8th grade, that was my prime. Well, I got two. They just don't work well enough.
Yeah, all right, bro. All right, bro.
So what was that like, moving from the East Coast to the Midwest? Did you notice a cultural shift or anything along those lines?
I would say I was just so young, 7th grade to 8th grade. We wasn't doing that much in Buffalo. I feel like the biggest difference was in Buffalo, everything was centered around hockey and football. And then Evansville, Indiana, was way more big into basketball. So that was the biggest cultural shift was, not being in the cold as much, or not all the snow. And then being technically in the South, Evansville is right next to Kentucky. So
right.
It definitely has that Southern culture down here. So I mean, I guess it was a little different, but I was just a little bit younger to really peep it as much so back then as I do now.
A piece of uncommon knowledge. Yin had a little bit of a roller hockey career before moving to the Midwest.
We all that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I did play a little roller hockey and I was cold at it. Shout out the Buffalo Sabres. Shout out, Reebok, Pepsi Center, all of that. Buffalo gang.
Sweet. Well, for me, I was born and raised in Evansville, Evansville Day School, very, very small school. And I literally went to school in the same building from age, what age do you start preschool? 4?
Yeah, 4.
So 3. 4 to 18, 14, 15 years or something. And there were a lot of kids, obviously, that, showed up in the hallways for the first time that I'd meet and get to know. But Yin and I have discussed this. I mean, the fact that I vividly remember the day he visited meant it was something happening. We went to school a couple more years before eventually living together, all 4 years at IU. So Yin has witnessed my dirtiest, foulest habits in terms of picking up clothes and cleaning a bathroom.
Yeah, me and all my best friends that would come over too. So everybody know.
And while at Indiana University, Bloomington, spoiler alert, located in Bloomington, Indiana, we both ended up getting bachelors in political science. I like to think I had a little bit of a hand in choosing that degree.
Yeah, you did. You recommended I take American political controversies with Professor Delecki. Was
Shout
that our
out.
second? Yeah, shout out, Professor. And that was what, our second semester, first year. And that class was just like really cool because it gave us like a lens or like a position to like view the world in like a more critical aspect. And then so like when you put me onto that class and then told me like, oh yeah, you can like do a major in this, I was like, oh yeah, for sure. That's it. And then pretty much it's like, you know, you got to go to law school or graduate school. I feel like it was, you know, a good move to extend the education further past the bachelor degree as well.
Yeah, I feel lucky because I mean it's something I stumbled onto as well, and I felt like it was just a great basis. A lot of writing involved in that major.
Yeah, for sure.
Critical
Yeah.
thinking, standing by your opinions in papers is a skill that really applies, I think, to most professions. Being able to stick to your guns, but also think critically and hear new information and allow your opinions to morph and change. Are there any specific political science classes that stick out to you from your time in Bloomington?
I would say I took this one class with D'Angelo. Bro, you were in that class too. And Alexis was in that class. That racial ethnic politics. Didn't we take that class together? Or like
I took a class like that over the summer that I don't think.
no, we took that one class together with the woman, Dr. Hershey. I think it was that. It's the
Our
class.
senior seminar.
Yeah, that one. That one was cool. That one was cool because like we were doing all those cases. Yeah, this racial ethnic politics one I took with D'Angelo was interesting just because it had like a lot of different like facts and statistics from like a governmental lens about issues that I had been interested in a long time, but I had only heard it from, you know, different authors, but I hadn't heard it from a quantitative lens. So that class was cool for that. And then also any class that you and I took together was always funny.
Yeah, we made them
always
enjoyable.
funny.
We always
Yeah.
talked about how we just kind of assumed the professors probably had no idea we lived together.
They would be so confused because we would be buddy from the first day, and then we would shake up probably like a couple of weeks in. They'd be like, oh, they know each other for real. And then by the end, I'd be like, hey, you need a ride home? And they're like, oh, they live together? Like, yeah. So
Yeah,
I remember.
That was the one frustrating thing about IU is that you always were mobile. You always had a car, a set of wheels to get from point A to point B, and I was hoofing it around that city.
It's like you wanted to do that. Like,
yeah, I know.
You walked everywhere because you wanted to. I was just actually talking about that. I feel like I just don't like to walk that much, and that's it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, my friends looked out for me. Everybody always had a car. That's facts. Everybody likes to eat. I had meal points. I could swipe for somebody if they drop me off somewhere. You know what I mean?
To go back in the timeline a little bit, we went to 1 year of middle school and then freshman year together. And then you had an adjustment shifting from, I think, the smallest high school in the state of Indiana with a basketball team to one of the bigger public high schools in the state. As I guess a 15-year-old, what was that adjustment like for you? You like how I'm posing these questions? Like,
yeah, I like that. But yeah, so Castle was cool. I transferred to Castle, and I guess it was interesting. It was an interesting transition just because I went from day school, which even though it was, you know, like a very small school, at the time I was there, it had a whole bunch of Black students, like Black students on the basketball team that were like all my friends from, like I had some friends from church. from the city, and then friends that I met at day school, and like we all played basketball together. So eventually, like a lot of them, pretty much like all of them, they ended up transferring away from day school too. But like I was one of the first ones to transfer. So I just remember like I missed like my homies a lot, like back at day school. And then Castle, it was just like weird because any Castle listener, shout out the gang. I guess the gang knows who the gang is. No, I'm just playing. Yeah, Castle was like real clicky. So like the first couple years, I was still like real close with my homies back in day school. But then when I joined the swim team, that's like when I got more involved with Castle and got like a sense of belonging, and then started like making more friends and like getting to know people outside of that. And then at one point, everyone from day school, my friends from Harrison, and my friends from Castle, and then like Eric up at Bossy, like everybody was just hanging out together. So at that point, like it didn't really matter what school we went to. We just like did class during the day and then all hung out together at night.
I'm going to pull out an SAT word here. I think that's part of the reason Evansville was a cool city to matriculate in. It's big enough. It's like 120,000 people that it had that city feel. There were strangers all around you at all time. It's not like everyone knew everyone's business.
Right.
But it was also small enough that it was very easy to meet people from different parts of the city, different walks of life, obviously. And yeah, I mean, I was born and raised there. I'm obviously very, very shamelessly biased towards Evansville. A lot of
I love Evansville. I love the city.
heck yeah.
Yeah.
So as for me, Allende mentioned he is a doctoral student in Illinois. I am out in Denver, Colorado in law school right now. So I always have bags under my eyes. I'm kind of an emotional wreck very often. Part of the reason I call Yin and other friends as often as I do, I need that, them to center me. Very important for me with some of this stuff. And you come out here a couple times. It's great. One of the odd things that anytime someone that comes out here seems to experience is the difference in the air. And I'm no science guy. You're the doctoral candidate, which sounds a lot more scientific, or doctoral student. And I don't really understand why that is. Is it less O2 particles? What's your best guess there?
First of all, I know nothing about science except for political science.
Fair enough.
Secondly, I thought it was extremely difficult to breathe out there. I didn't really like realize it till probably like my second day though. I thought I was just like tired. But then I realized that it was like definitely on purpose. Because then you say, well, it's like a mile higher than like most cities or something.
The Mile High City, yeah. It's why a lot of professional teams, NFL coming to play the Broncos, NBA coming to play the Nuggets, aren't huge fans of that road trip, because I guess for an athlete that's so expert on their own body and what it's experiencing, they can really notice the difference when playing.
Yeah, I was really dizzy. Like I noticed that a couple of days in, I was just like getting real dizzy if I didn't drink enough water, or like if I wasn't eating enough. So like that was that. And then also Denver was just cool, just like being around the mountains. Because I would say when I drove out here to Cali or to LA, driving through like Utah was real cool, and like Wyoming, and just like seeing all like the different topographies, and just different like how that was just changing the further west I went.
No pun intended with the air quality talk, but the mountains do take your breath away. It's pretty unbelievable.
It is quite unbelievable, honestly.
And at IU, I also got a minor in psychology, which I was really glad to pair with my political science degree, because kind of at the end of the day, especially nowadays, politics is so tribal, and convincing people that your team is the right team. There's a lot of psychology involved in that. And remind me again what you minored in, Yin?
Oh yeah, I got a minor in African American and African diaspora studies at Indiana University.
Awesome. And you have a master's as well, correct?
Yeah, I have a master's in educational policy, organization, and leadership, with a concentration in higher education.
Yeah, that's great. We're qualified people. We're smart cookies.
Yeah, whatever that means. We're gonna get into that for sure.
Oh yeah, I want to reiterate, this is us just giving a little bit of context to our relationship and our backgrounds and our experiences. But going forward, we'll have a lot more in-depth conversations. It won't feel so egotistical just talking about ourselves for an hour.
For sure. For sure. Just a little background so y'all can get to know who we are.
So how did you balance your higher educational pursuits with the recent pandemic that, fingers crossed, it seems like we're on the right side of at this point, but obviously for a year and a half there, it was probably pretty tough. I know it was tough for me.
Yeah, I would say I definitely like relied a lot on my friends and family. I feel like that was the time in which I was doing a lot more phone calls, checking in with people, making sure everybody was cool. And then people were doing the same for me too. So I know you and I, we were talking a lot. And just like being in the crib, reading, doing work, making sure that still got done, but still staying sane. With me, I definitely still, my school, Illinois, we were like pretty, I don't know how you could say, like high up on the research level of the COVID pandemic.
Okay.
So they had like saliva same day exams pretty early into the pandemic. So I was getting tested twice a week. So when I would get tested, I would just like right after I got tested, go home to Evansville and kick it with my family. So I didn't really have like that whole isolation part of the pandemic. And then also my girlfriend Fair, she was with me for a while too, while we were in Illinois before we came out to Cali. So like just doing classes online, still taking pictures and videos like for more personal projects. I dropped the EP on some random. So I guess I was just like kind of tapped in with myself and just, doing what I had to do during that pandemic. But yeah, like you said, I feel like it might be opening up, but then it'd be like closing back down every other week. So who knows?
Tap into that, those artistic pursuits that you just mentioned. Ian is an entrepreneur at heart. He's got his own photography set up. He's done presentations of his photos, and they're quite great. If you're listening to this, you likely follow him on Instagram, but if not, check him out. __ Yin photo. Is it 2 underscores?
Oh yeah. It's Yin photo __.
I had the underscores in the wrong spot.
Almost. But yeah. I have a little photography, videography business, locked and loaded. And I pretty much specialize in portraits, and street photography. So yeah, like different types of, and also like scenic landscape photography too. And I've been doing that for about like 3 years now professionally. But I've always been taking pictures, like just for fun. But like with my real cameras, I've been doing that for about 3 years now, and it's definitely like a good outlet. And I pair it directly with my PhD work as a method of conveying my research. So, bringing art and photography and videography into the academy has definitely been a real like nice and beneficial aspect of my PhD career so far.
Yeah, I think that I've told you this before. I think it's so great that you do that. I think so many people have a firm line in their heads between academia and art or research and art, but they're directly interwoven. You can't make great art without properly researching, even if that's just experiencing the world. That in itself is a version of research. And on the other hand, I don't think you can properly, write an academic paper, formulate an academic hypothesis without understanding more than the literal, you have to understand everything else that's going on. And I also have noticed in the past year, more than the first two of Locked and Loaded, you've been doing more video work, you've made a couple music videos for Evansville-based rappers such as Obutney Lee. Shout out Obutney, friend of the show already.
Yeah, shout out Obutney.
What's your process when you're editing those? Because I find that fascinating. It's one thing to have the technical ability with the camera and microphones to acquire the footage, but then formulating it and having each video have its own personality, I find always to be very impressive when I have friends that do that consistently.
Oh yeah, thank you. So I would say, honestly, as a photographer first, I'm very like interested in the shot itself. So like, when I'm shooting, I'm very cautious and careful about how the shot is like individually framed and lighted, so that when it comes to editing, I almost don't have to do that much because it should already be like a picture itself that's just moving within the frame. So yeah, with editing, I try to like kind of put all my clips together like in a way that flows with kind of like my own personal style that I have already, and then just like color graded or black and white is something I like to do, which we'll probably talk about more in future episodes too. But I guess like this kind of segues into a question that I actually have for you.
All right.
But in regards to like the videography, something that actually started my videography career was when we started with like our commercials.
Oh,
and like
yeah.
actually, that was like the first time I actually used my camera video setting ever. So I don't know if you want to plug the people with some of like your early content or your early videos and like what we were working on back then.
Well, for those listening, what he means by commercials is we made these series of sort of spoof commercials. So one of them, for example, involves me sleeping on a bed, and you hear what sounds like an alarm bell. I'm sure I nailed that sound effect. And then it pans out, or it's a different frame. I don't exactly remember. And as if I'm hitting an alarm to turn it off, I smack a taco, and it's a Taco Bell commercial. Trust me, it looks way better than I just made it sound.
We gotta link it to the bio after this.
All right, I will. Hashtag link in bio.
Hashtag link in bio.
That's how you get numbers. But yeah, those were fun to make. I mean, we did 2 separate series of those, and they were both probably still some of my bigger Instagram posts in terms of comments and views. And I have done several other comedy sort of video clips, some substantially better than others. But overall, it's a fun hobby of mine. I fancy myself a funnier than average man. And on top of that, like, I'm not too afraid of perhaps making a fool of myself or other people looking at something I made and thinking, what is this guy even thinking? Why is he wasting his time doing this? And I feel like that's a trait that you and I both share, where if it's something we want to do, we just do it instead of thinking about the potential social backlash, or even worse, to think about social media lack of engagement. Like, I think that's how we get it. And so if 2 people listen to this podcast, or 20, if we're pleased with what we're saying and the product, I think we'll both be happy with what this is. And so you said I sort of jump-started your videography career. I mean, geez.
Yeah, I'll definitely give you them props, because I mean, whether it was like acting in your videos like with Sean and stuff, or like seeing Jake shoot his with you, like when I would hang out with all you guys, definitely in the part where I'm trying now to like get into more cinematic and actually acting with dialogue videos. Like, I definitely always know that when I send them to you guys, I will be honest critics, and I want to make good work. So yeah, y'all definitely like the standard that I'm trying to like live up to and all of that, and then so we can just keep getting bigger and better. Because like you said, it ain't really about the views or ain't about the listeners or like the cloud. It's really about just like doing the work that, like you said, we want to do, and then everything else is gonna fall into place. And I really stand on that 10 toes. So shout out, literally everybody, like all the family, all the gang, all our brothers, sisters, everybody who really like rock with us and like supporting what we're doing for real. Cause we appreciate all of y'all.
Yeah, we're truly blessed when it comes to that. We've already mentioned several mutual friends throughout this show already. It is unbelievable how many creative people we happen to be good friends with. We've already mentioned Obutni Lee, Evansville-based rapper. He's part of a group, FTW. They're all churning out content and songs. Couple video guys, Jake Heidecker, you mentioned. Jelly House is really blowing up. It's his career now, getting millions of views on multiple of the music videos that he shoots and edits. Sean Troba, another funny man, and I'm sure I'm forgetting plenty of others. That's I think one thing that has helped instill confidence in me in not only starting this podcast but making goofy little videos is that I have been just lucky happenstance surrounded by people who are similarly grinding, artistically thinking. And, you know, sometimes you watch a Sean Troba or Chuck video and you're like, that was not art. But you know what I mean? The creative process. And it's kind of insane to an extent that we're from a sub generation, it seems, of Evansville area people that are particularly creative and pursuing it well into their 20s. I mean, I'm no expert on the history of Evansville, but I do think we lucked out in living in Evansville the time we did. So many of the names I just mentioned are Evansville based, and there's so many others as well, not from Evansville, that we've met in Bloomington or just traveling around. And it's really cool to have that, for lack of a better word, fraternity of people that are all so supportive and grinding on these sort of things. And we're lucky that, you know, we're capable of balancing the time between pursuing these post undergrad degrees and also still being able to express ourselves. It's a cool thing.
Yeah, for sure. And even like the spiritual advisors, you know, we got like Manoah and Isaac and Ryan, the writers and theorists and all them people too. So yeah, shout out the gang for sure.
Ames Create as well, Brandon Ames. We're going to do a little plug for him later in the show, but he helped come up with the branding for the show, the very powerful orange color, which I think is phenomenal, as well as the fonts, and we appreciate his efforts.
Genius, no cap.
He's a smart guy, and he does graphics for other podcasts, and we need to put in the work that we're his top client.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Chuck here. Thank you again for listening to the inaugural episode of Exploration with Chuck and Yin. This week's episode is brought to you by Ames Create. Ames Create is a graphic design company that has done works for companies such as Leon, Washed, Austin Taylor's That Boy Bent podcast, Colt, Rigo Sanchez, and Jelly House, as well as the very podcast you're listening to right now. They do great work over there at Ames Create, and be sure to check them out on Instagram at Ames Create. That's at AMESCREATE. And check out their portfolio at brames.myportfolio.com. I kind of stuttered on that, so I will repeat. brames.myportfolio.com. And back to the show. Brandon killed it. Great graphics for us, but we did come up with the names ourselves. Exploration, obviously, is the title. And we both have slightly different interpretations of what that means with the same general thesis. Yen, I'll let you fire away first with why we have the name Exploration and what we hope that this show potentially could evolve into.
Exploration to me is all about self-autonomy, like just doing everything on your own accord and just like traveling the world, you know, whether that be mentally or physically, and just be able to like really get out and just understand history, to understand the future, and understanding from like multiple different lenses. Kind of how Chuck was talking about earlier, that the way that him and I kind of think are always about like understanding like what the other person is thinking and why they think that way, so it can strengthen your thoughts. So I just feel like exploration is just going to provide all of our viewers and listeners with the opportunity to like kind of see the world from a different point of view that hopefully like helps them, and maybe not even help them, but help us too.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, man. It's a combination of, as you said, exploring the physical realm, this earth, this country, what have you, but also exploring yourself. And I feel like the only way you can truly come to a full understanding of, your own self is by engaging with others, engaging with other people's thoughts. Um, I feel like there's a lot of people that really struggle with concepts and ideas that are either foreign or directly in opposition to their own perspectives. But it is engaging with those, understanding that other person's perspective that ultimately enhances and adds clarity to your own. And it's not just going to be me and Yin talking and exploring. We look forward to having on guests as the show continues to evolve to not only enlighten us with their perspectives on issues, life, current events, but also hopefully will benefit the listeners as well. The open dialogue concept is obviously very trendy in a post Joe Rogan podcast realm. And although we don't literally want to be Joe Roganites, we do enjoy that format where it's a free flowing conversation with some specific topics intended to be hit on. But in general, we look forward to having conversations with friends, acquaintances, and hopefully eventually strangers who we haven't interacted with. And that's really engaging with those new perspectives like that is what I personally look forward to the most. And these people, will be creatives, they'll be thinkers, and not necessarily a name you'll know sometimes. Sometimes you're going to see a new podcast from us and not know the name of the guest, but I invite you to click on that anyway. And I assure you that we'll have an engaging and interesting conversation with whoever comes on the show as we plan to do with each other.
Yeah, it'll always be worth it for sure. If you guys have any questions or anything you guys want to talk about, you can always DM us or email us. Chuck, do you want to like plug them with that information on how they can like get in touch with us?
Yeah, right now, the email we have set up is explorationwithchuckandyin@gmail.com. However, that is spelled exploration as you would guess, but then instead of and, it's the letter N. And instead of with, it's W. So maybe I should phrase that into slightly different order. Exploration, W, Chuck, letter N, Yin. So I'll be sure to include that in the description of this show as well. In terms of platforms, we are currently planning on putting this on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Down the line, we look forward to adding a video feature to this show. But right now, we want to keep it simple and really not put too much pressure on ourselves. Keep it nice and relaxed. Don't have to stress about if I'm having a bad hair day or if, my shirt's looking right. And I think that'll create a more natural and authentic dialogue. And real quickly, completely unrelated to what we've been talking about, Yen, have you listened to that Nas album and what do you think?
Hey, man, Nas, he is one of the greatest, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's been doing this since he was a young guy. But no, I thought it was amazing. I thought it was definitely uplifting, empowering, definitely talked on a lot of subject matter that I've been interested in for a while. So no, I thought I was impressed, you know what I'm saying? And it's definitely been on repeat still for me. Just like I said, real uplifting music.
I agree. I think it might be his best post 90s album or post 2001 because Stillmatic's pretty damn quality. And this is our roommate for a handful of years there at IU, Isaac Winfield, coming out. Massive Nas fan. Definitely put us both onto his greatness at a level that I don't think either of us understood.
Oh yeah, for sure. He definitely need to be on the show if we're gonna talk about Nas. But yeah, because I thought it was crazy, bro. Definitely compared to what didn't Kanye produce his last album?
A couple albums ago, because this is the sequel to King's Disease. I think directly. So there's an album in between the Kanye produced one and this one.
Oh yeah.
Bringing up Kanye though, is Donda ever gonna drop? If you had to put odds on it, what are the odds?
That it's gonna drop ever? He gonna drop it.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's done yet.
Okay, odds before our next recording in a week.
Nah, I don't think it's gonna drop. Nah.
Okay. There are leaks out there. I've heard a couple of the quote unquote songs that I'm sure are unfinished. Or
I mean, he keep playing them at in Atlanta, don't he? At the Mercedes-Benz, don't? Yeah, he keep playing the tracks. People up there recording them and stuff. Like, I feel like people definitely got audio of the tracks. But when's Drake dropping?
That's one artist in particular that I'm not checking Twitter to see when he's dropping. If one of Drake's people is listening, I apologize. I love Drake. Come on our show, but I think the odds of that are pretty slim. Yeah,
well, I'm not checking for Drake necessarily. I think his features, like, he definitely be like, having a lot of nice features on his tracks. But I think Kanye does a lot of things like based off of what Drake is doing, because they be beefing for real. And I think Drake wants to hear what Kanye. I think Kanye want to hear what Drake sound like before he drop his.
You think?
Yeah, I feel like they both are being weird. Like, I feel like Kanye worried that he gonna drop his, that Drake gonna drop his like the next day. And Drake got that Drake effect. Like, his is gonna go number one regardless.
Yeah.
Like, so what? Kanye ain't trying to drop and then Drake drop and just take all his like glory. He gonna be bad. That's what I'm saying.
Makes sense. And we're running low-ish on time. One thing I thought could be funny, and if it takes you a minute to think of it, we'll figure out how to fill the time in the meantime. Is there one specific story you have about me where you're like, oh, this guy's an idiot, or what the hell was he thinking there? I won't do it to you, but I'm curious if anything jumps to mind.
Nah, I don't think you're an idiot. I would say a funny moment, like literally the first thing that came to my mind was when we were, I don't know if we were leaving, like if it was Lou's graduation party, but it was somebody's graduation party. And we were out on the north side, like in high school. And like we were driving through like a curvy road. And it was like this big figure to the left of us in a car. It was like pitch black at night. And it just like flew in front of the car, and it was an owl. And it was giant, like
huge.
The size of like a little bobcat. Like, and it turned his head around, 180 degrees and looked straight at us. Hey, you smacked it.
We were both yelling.
Bro. And it was still attached to the car for a minute, bro. And it was so scary, bro. Like, it was terrifying.
Well, I remember thinking I like ran it over, and we're like driving, freaking out, and then a wing pops up into the line of view, so it's like pinned to the front of the car with like the speed it was moving.
Right. It was just like, I don't know. It just felt like it was some evil energy that just got released, bro. Like it seemed like he was on some demon time, bro. Like, I don't know. So that was like a real just odd ass moment.
Yeah, I doubt many people have been in a car that's hit an owl.
The thing is,
Insane.
the thing is, I don't know if we can even share this. Like, what if we have very like animal loving listeners? They hear that and they're just like hella
I
disgusted
mean,
with that.
it was beyond my control. It happened faster than I think you made it sound. It was like, what is that? Something lands in front of the car. Owl turns its head. We see the white of its eyes. Bam. Like that was in seconds.
Yeah, it was insane. Yeah,
There was nothing I could do.
that was insane. That was insane. That was insane. No, I guess another thing, if we do cut that out, I guess the thing that was real crazy that you do was just always lose your phone. Like I remember we were at Lollapalooza and you were lost for like the entire day. And I was just
It was my birthday.
I just knew your mom was gonna be calling me like, where is Jacob? Where is he? I was just like, man, I lost him. Like, I don't know where he's at. And then Lollapalooza go tweet you like 2 weeks later. We have this BlackBerry. If anybody wants to claim it, I'm like, how do you get lucky like that? So yeah, you just be losing your phone all the time.
It wasn't a nice enough phone for anyone to want to snag it. That was probably the benefit.
No, that's
someone turned it in.
That's the reason why you dumb. All right, I guess if that's what you want from me. You want me to call you dumb? It's because I knew no one stole it. I know no one would steal that phone. I knew you simply lost it, and that's exactly what happened. And you lose your phone all the time. You're too old for that. You lose your phone too much.
I've been good recently, past year or so since I've been here. But yeah, it was pretty bad for a stretch of years there. I'm not I need deeper pockets, I think, and that's not a financial comment. That's I need more.
Nah, because your pockets be having holes in them.
Well, that was one pair of jeans. No, I'm kidding.
I'm weak.
Well, I'm excited about this, brother. I think it's going to be really good. We've kind of toyed around with the idea of starting a podcast for a long time, and we're in our mid-20s. It's kind of now or never if we want to see what this can really turn into. And I love you, man. I'm excited to keep exploring with you, this time recorded.
Yeah, bro. I love you too, bro. And I'm really excited for this as well. It's definitely been a while that we've been talking about this, but like you said, it's now or never. We're gonna make it happen, and we're gonna have some great conversations, have some great guests, and just like see where this takes us.
Absolutely. Check us out on Twitter, exploration_pod, Instagram, exploration.podcast. We will keep those updated with new episodes, snippets of each individual episode, and please DM either the show or any of us individually if there's something specific you would like us to talk about. Feel free to comment. We'll be replying to the comments, not out of the kindness of our heart, but it automatically doubles the number of comments, and it just makes us look better.
No cap. Yeah, peace, love, all of that. Everybody stay safe out there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week.